And in many ways, talking with people with lived experience, this might not be a huge surprise to some of you. There are a lot of incredible experts who are working in their communities to lead change, who are ensuring that the things that happen to them do not happen to their community members. What I've also been finding, however, is that as researchers and as organizations, we're not always supporting people with lived experience to be doing that work in a sustainable way. Intentionally or not, I speak as a researcher and someone with lived experience, we repeatedly undervalue, objectify, and tokenize people with lived experience and community knowledges. Sometimes we do significant harm trying to do research that honors community knowledges, whether we want to or not. Nope. Okay, so I'm going to share some things that I've been learning from other lived experts about how to do this work well, and how we can enter into this work. The first thing I keep hearing again and again is that we shouldn't be beginning our work with a question of whether or not lived knowledges are valuable to shaping our responses to homelessness. They are absolutely invaluable to understanding how systems work, or more often don't work for people. And so when I talk to lived experts, I hear again and again, inclusion is a starting point, but it's not the end point. Inclusion is not enough. Having a seat at the table is not enough. Actually changing the way that the table is structured should be the end goal. It's a starting point, and it's an important starting point, but I hear again and again, it doesn't matter if I'm at the table if the table is still harmful to me. Truly integrating and supporting community knowledges as one aspect of expertise is important not from an equity or inclusion standpoint, it's important from a justice standpoint. And it's important because it gives us information that we otherwise don't have about how systems are organized. So one thing that I look at is what people are already doing in spite of systems that harm them to survive and take care of each other. We know what happens when people make decisions on our behalf, especially make decisions on our behalf without the knowledges that we hold in our communities. Research, which I realize we all have very different relationships to in this room, has a long history of extracting from, erasing, and distorting the realities of people who are homeless, who are displaced, and who are colonized. So I really want us to think this week about how we can find different ways of honoring community knowledges in research and advocacy work. Again, I want to reiterate that people with lived experience know often over and over and have to tell their stories over and over about what isn't working here and across the globe. They need support. I've heard this again and again. I need support, I need training, I need allies to stand up and do what I need to be a leader in change for housing justice. So I want to speak a bit about my weird role as a researcher because I'm feeling very ambivalent about it often. As a researcher, I'm really suspicious about research, particularly research that sits within these predetermined boxes of what research can do. I think often there's a narrative that if we just measure this enough, we'll have this outcome. Or if we look at this thing, if we just illuminate this one thing, we'll change housing injustice. And I think that I don't believe that's true. I don't know if other people do. But I think that there's something wherein we used research as a means to an end. We're going to get this end, and the means through which we do research doesn't actually matter. What I've heard speaking to lived experts is that is not the case. The methods that we use, the means we use to engage community knowledge is incredibly important. And so research can have a huge impact, and it has had an impact in my life. And so